Hi everyone. Right, Julie, that's Red Cat Etsy. She asked me if I would do a tutorial on the dress form that I've just completed. I don't have another one of that style, Julie, to be able to do that style of dress. You have to do it with a certain doll, you know, certain dress form. But what I will do is I will talk you through it right now, and then when I get one in, I will do a tutorial, okay? But because normally when I get them in, I sell them straight away. So what I'm going to do, I'll just show you this one. Do you remember the four I got? These. Right, well, this is the one I finished. I painted it cream. I hope you can see that. And then what I did is I added the lace already. You see, this is the lace that was already there, but it's obviously it's made of whatever the dress form's made from. So I just went over it, adding normal lace. I put some around the waist as well, as you can see. Some around the collar. Added a little pearl choker. Added a bead, a diamante bead, and then added some flowers. Now I did add the lace around the sleeves, so you know it has given the flowers. I added, these were bows underneath and I didn't do like that, so I just left it and put the flowers on. So that's what I've done with that one, and it does, I like it far better than what it was. I've just got to clean up around the neck bit here, and it's only with a cotton bud. And then I glittered it. I glittered that all first and let that dry. But I do like it. It does make... I'm going to do the glitter here just on these lines. And then that's complete. But that's going to look fabulous in my cabinet. So that was that one. Now regarding this, Julie, this is the dress form. I'm going to pull the camera out. Oh, and by the way, I've tidied my desk. I have. Let me just, that's it, like that, I think. Hopefully we've got that. It's not doing so good. Hope you can see that anyway. So this is the dress form. Now, you just need, you know, one of those dress forms that's just got the bodice. See, the body on that is just from the hip to the neck. I've added this ball on. And I've put the hat on and that. But as you can see, it all puffs out. And the reason why it puffs out is because it's got these foam bits underneath. You glue them on around the body, if you can see. I've done 2 layers to make the dress stand out. And no one's going to see that underneath, so you don't have to be perfect or anything. But to do the actual dress, I'll talk you through it. Now, if I get this piece of material, what I did... I measured from the waist to the floor of the base of the dress form, and then I added on 1 inch. And the reason why I added on 1 inch is because the hem needed turning up, of course. I mean, look, this is all done with black thread. Look at that. But you can't see that side, and it's for my benefit. It's not for anybody else's. So I wasn't bothered about that at all. I used that because it's really strong thread, and I know it's not going to come undone. And while it stood on my unit, no one's going to see that but me. You know it's there, so I'm not fussed. If I was selling it, that would be different. I would do it with a different thread. But I just took 2 layers of material. The bottom one measures from the waist to the base of the dress form. Added 1 inch on, turned the hem up. Just hand stitch the hem, that's all I did. If you got a machine, excuse me, then yeah, do use a machine. And then what I did with the bottom section is I took some white eyelet trim, or well, just a lacy trim, and I hand stitched that on. And what I've done is I did 2 stitches and then a pleat, 2 stitches and a pleat, and I did that all the way around to give that a really nice gather. But then I used a gathered lace, which I glued on top, and it is glued. This one's stitched, this one's glued. But when you've stitched these on, because what you do is you hold that material, I'm going to show you now. Just say this was the lace and this was the material. So what I did, I made sure that I had them facing each other Okay, so it's like that. So this is the right side of the material and the right side of the ribbon. And you hold it together and you stitch. So I've done 2 stitches, pleated that only, 2 stitches, then pleated that again, like that. And did that all the way around. Now, because that happened like that, then when I held the material upright, you know, so it was like that, it didn't, this had to be glued underneath. So I've just glued this down, which made it stay that way, you know, facing down. Otherwise it stuck up like that. So I did that with both pieces. Now, once the hem was done, all I did is I took needle and thread, and here's the material, okay, so that's a piece of, just pretend that's a piece of material that I'm going to use. So I folded the material inside out. With this it doesn't matter either way, but if you're using a material that has a front and a back, you need it inside out. I stitched down here, down the back of the seam, that's the back of the dress. The hem was already done. Now, once that was done, I then took my needle and thread and I just did a very neat, well, it doesn't have to be neat, but try and get it as neat as you can, running stitch all the way around the waistband section. And then, like you say, it would be like that, but when you pulled it, it gathered it all in and it gave you the skirt. Okay, so that's what you need to do with both the top section and the bottom section. Now, don't forget that that then has to fit onto the doll. So what you do is you slot it over the head part or the base part, slot the material onto the doll. So you do the bottom section first, pull it tight, make sure you do a tacking stitch, and then before you do actually need to glue the skirts onto the dress form. So then what I do is I went round just all the waist, making sure it was all even and it hung just right. And then I glued that into place, and all I did was tip the dress upside down, added a bit of glue in here, and then dropped the dress back onto it. And I did the same thing with the top section as well. Then I always do, a lot of people do the top section first and then do the skirt, but I'm the opposite way, because my skirt has to look right before I can see what my top section needs to be like. You know, if it's wrong and I get the top section wrong, then this from the waist up doesn't match the waist, you know, from the waist down. So I always do my skirt first, and where you hide the 2 pieces joining, where they're joined, is by doing a waistband. So what I did then is I took, I'm not sure if you can see this, because I made a sleeve. Yeah, just right under there, you can see it's not touching, but that hides that. So what I did is I took an inch strip of the material, and I started here at the waist and I pulled it slightly tight and glued it as it went over there. Don't touch this end yet, just glue the front piece. You have to get that right. Took it over the back of the doll. I've now added a brolly look. Took it over the back of the doll, and I took it over the back of the doll across, so they crisscrossed these. Glued that into place, cut the remainder off, and then did exactly the same for the opposite side. And then for the edges, you know, the arm sections, what you do is, look, it's got a pleat, like you would, oh my God, I can't remember what it's called now, and I was a seamstress. Jesus feet, come on. The dart. Is it the dart? I can't remember. I was a seamstress for years. So I just glued that in, so it made it look like, look, so you've got they see that there. Now when I move the sleeve, you can see that it's open, but that, and it just closes that in and pinches the boob quite nicely. When that's stood up, you can't see that. So glued all, and then glued that round, and just kept, you know, slightly putting a dart in where it needed, and then I did the top section of the lace, and then the pearls. And then when the top section was done, I added the waistband before putting the sleeves on. Now, in order to do a sleeve, let me just see, I'll use a piece of card. All I did for mine, you have to have a rough guide of how big you need it. And I just do a sleeve like that, like an arch. It's the easiest way to do them, to be honest. For a doll, you know, you don't need all the pattern and cutting this and that out. Just do an arch. I made it that this section and this section, which was about 1/2 inch, was straight, and then it curved from there around. And then all you do, and I'm going to show you with a marker, you turn this inside out and you do a running stitch. So that would be like that, in half. And you do that straight, and then you start to do, put a tack in there, so you're putting a tack in there, so then that will not get pulled and gathered when you do this section. And then what you do is you go around in a tacking stitch, you know, all the way to there, because that's now sewn together. Hope you can see that. This is now sewn together. That's the straight bit, that's the underarm bit. This is where the sleeve puffs up. So you do a running stitch here, a nice neat running stitch, and then tack it off here, so that when you do move on to do the next section, just saves you rethreading your needle, it'll be like that. So that's your sleeve, and you'll tack that all the way around to there. And of course that's already sewn because you've done it with this one. You folded your material in half, you stitched the 1/2 inch, tacked it off, and then done a running stitch here. So then all you do is you gather, you just pull it and you gather that section as much as you need it. And then once your sleeve will be like that but gathered here, you just glue that sleeve on there like that. It is easy to do. Maybe a couple of times you might need a bit of practice, but yeah, it really is easy to do, and you can do it all by hand. And there you go. And then see how you've got a little ruffle here, a little gather puff sleeve. All I did then was I ran the glue gun just slightly around the edge of that, pressed it on so that really holds that in, and then I did the lace underneath, and then the little bows, and that's your dress form. The only other thing I had to do was to do the ruche bit. Now with this it's very, very simple, and I'll just show you. You take your needle and thread, and wherever you want your ruche to be, which I always put them on the side, but wherever you want your ruche to be, you take your needle and thread, put a knot in it, and then you will stitch underneath, obviously, to start with, and you have to go straight. And all it is tiny stitches. Do them, the better, like that. And I would do 1 inch to 2 inches to give it a good ruche. And look, when that's pulled, it ruches it up really nicely. And then all you do then is I mean, I'm not doing it because I've already sewn mine. You do a couple of tacking stitches there, take your needle back through and trim it off underneath. And that gives you a nice ruche, and then you can add, you see, I glue that one to that one so they're always one above the other, it always stays still, and then I just add my flower or whatever I'm adding, a bow, you can add whatever you want, and basically that's all you do. It's as easy and as quick as that. They're very quick to make, and with this I did put the doily on, a brolly, and it was just a skewer. I took some of the wood off at the end, popped the bead on, one on that, and no, that was done with I took my knife, you know, if you get a sharp knife, flatten the end, so scrape it off till it's flat, and I used 2 flat back pearls for that one, which just looked like a bead, but you can do the same for that as well, so you can use any size. And the doily is basically, that's the centre of the doily, and you have to glue each section of the doily to each other to make it look like a brolly. I mean, I could have, that was the only one I had that matched everything, so otherwise I could do it a little bit different. And the hat is very, very simple. Whoops-a-daisy. It's a piece of cinnamon, and I cut a disc of cinnamon. This, when you wet it, it's got a glue substance to it. So you wet it under the hot tap, and use anything to make that. Well, I used, I can't remember, I think it was this. Yeah, I think that was it. Just the sweet tub, and all I did was I took the circle of cinnamon, popped that on, pressed it down and held it, and it dries. I can get the dryer out and dry it. It dries within 5-10 minutes. Once that's done, take it off, and then you can trim your hat how you need it, whatever width you want the brim. And you can, I didn't, but you can turn it over. You know, like I showed you on the flowers, you just wet your fingers and you turn it over. But I didn't do that. I just added my lace, added my beaded trim, and a little bow made out of the cinnamon, a little handmade flower out the lace that's on the trim, and then put the little doily bits at the back. And that's how I did that. Very, very simple, very quick and very easy. And when I put it on here, I just wanted it to look so it was the part, so I added a bow. Just glued a little bit there and made a bow. And that is how I made my dress form. And I have to say, they look really, really pretty. I know people are going to say, oh, black thread. Yeah, I don't have any white thread that's strong. Well, I do now because I got the silk stuff, but I'd already made this. So I've used black. And as there's only me and my husband seeing it, I don't care. No one else is going to see that underneath the skirt. And that, with the foamy bits all glued in. In fact, that one's fallen. Sorry. With the foamy bits all glued in, it's fine for me. I don't mind that in the least. Let's hold that on a bit. Like that. Now, if you haven't got these or you haven't got access to them, sponge rollers. You can get a bag of sponge rollers for £1 or two or something like that. See if Pound Shop's got them in. And just take the middles out, the plastic bits out, and use them. Quite easy. A little tip. And I'm quite thrilled with that. I think it turned out fantastic. I love it. But I will be doing another one. So it's very, very simple, very basic. 2 pieces of material. Obviously, your top one has to be 1 inch shorter than the bottom one. You need to hem them, put your lace on, and then put this on first before you put it onto the dress form. It saves a lot of trouble. And then you can, because if it's too long with that on, you can always cut the top off. But if you've glued it on, you can't. Then you have to faff about cutting the bottom, making sure you get it even. But that's how you do it. Tacking stitch, drop it over the doll, pull the stitch, tack it in place, move the material around till you've got the draping that you want of the skirt, and then glue it into place. And then do the top layer exactly the same as the bottom layer. I would advise you to glue the top layer to the bottom just there. Nowhere else, just there. So them ruches are together. And then the dress. You just lay them on in pieces and glue them in very carefully. And the sleeve I've shown you how to do. So I hope you like that. These little brolly things are easy to make. So is the hat. If you don't have any cinnamon, what you could use is ordinary fabric. If you've got some fabric stiffener, that's all you need. Do the same thing. Soak the material in the fabric stiffener. Lay it over a dish of some sort. You know, I mean, I could have done it over that. That would have made a nice shape. Do you know what I mean? I could have laid it over there. Never mind that bit there. But that would have still fit on the doll like that. And that would have been a nice one, wouldn't it? And let it dry. But that's how you do it. I've just dropped a bit of paint in there now. So if I will do a tutorial when I get the right dress form in, but I hope for now that's okay for you, and that's what you can go from. Any problems, contact me. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye for now.